Do you work for money or for taxes and inflation? That's the question most people have never truly thought about. We spend our whole lives earning money, but very few ever learn how to keep it. And when they look back, they realize what remains isn't wealth but bills. I once told a friend, it doesn't matter how much you make. What matters is how much you keep after every storm in life. You can work hard, you can earn a high income, but if you don't know how to protect your results, all your efforts can vanish in a breeze like dust in the desert of finance. Money has a strange rule. It only stays with those who respect it. Those who see money as a tool keep it. Those who see money as magic lose it. Keeping what you earn is not just a financial lesson, but a principle of life. Protect your effort, protect your value, and respect every dollar you've traded your time and sweat for. In today's video, I want to share with you 7 principles that help you keep what truly belongs to you. Principles that help you step out of the earn, then lose cycle, and begin truly building financial freedom. And you should stay until the end, because principle number 7 is the key most people overlook, yet it's the very thing that decides whether money will work for you or you will work for money forever. Principle you reduce leakage, you increase wealth speed. Most people ask, how can I make more money? Very few ask, how can I lose less? But that difference in question creates the difference in results. I once met a man in California. He was hardworking, talented, and held a high position in his company. Each year, he earned nearly $200,000, a number many dream of. He drove a nice car, lived in a beautiful home, and seemed to have everything. But when we sat down for a private conversation, he looked down at his coffee cup and said sadly, "Jim, I don't get it. I work day and night, I'm making more than ever. Yet at the end of the month, my account is still empty." I paused for a moment and smiled. I said, "Because you're rowing a leaking boat." He looked at me puzzled. I explained, "You can row fast, row hard, row for hours every day. But if there's a small hole at the bottom, no matter how hard you try, water will still come in and the boat will sink. Your money is the same. No matter how much you earn, if you don't patch the leaks in your pocket, you'll never get far." We often think of wealth as a race, whoever earns more wins. But in that race, some don't run the fastest, they just lose less. And they reach the finish line before everyone else. I once asked an older businessman in Phoenix, "What's your secret to staying wealthy for decades?" He smiled and said, "I'm not the best at making money, Jim. I just lose less than others." That answer made me think for a long time because it was so simple that most people ignore it. Most people think the speed of getting rich depends on income. But the truth is, the speed of getting rich depends on leakage. If you earn $10,000 a month and spend $9,900, you're moving very slowly. But if you earn $5,000 and keep $2,000, you're moving much faster than most. Wealth isn't the result of impulse, it's the result of discipline and awareness to keep what you have. I often compare money to the water in your garden. If you let it flow away carelessly, the plants will wither no matter how much you pour. But if you channel it properly, keeping some to soak into the soil, your garden will stay green even in dry seasons. Your finances work the same way. If you let your efforts leak away through invisible cracks of spending habits, you'll find yourself exhausted in the current of life, even while working hard every day. They're small leaks. We don't notice monthly subscriptions. We no longer use fancy dinners just to relieve stress impulse buys we make in the heat of the moment. Each time we think it's just a few dollars. But those few dollars repeated over years grow large enough to swallow an entire dream. And then we wonder why we're still not financially free. Reducing leakage doesn't just help you keep money. It helps you develop the habit of seeing the bigger picture. When you learn to observe small flows, you begin to understand how the whole river moves. When you learn to keep, you learn respect for your own effort. And when you respect every dollar, money begins to respect you. I once told a student, patch your boat before learning to row faster. Because if you keep trying to raise your income without fixing your spending, all your effort becomes an endless chase. The faster you run, the more tired you get, and you never reach the goal. Reducing leakage is the first step toward freedom. It's not flashy, not dramatic, but it's the foundation of all lasting wealth. When you start controlling what flows out of your pocket, you move much closer to controlling your life. And from here, there's something important you must understand. If you don't know the rules of the financial game, you can still lose money even after learning to save. Because in this world, laws don't just exist to restrict, they also serve those who know how to use them. And that's why the next principle is so important, because if you don't understand the law, all your efforts to keep money will soon fade. Let's explore how to make the law work for you instead of against you. Principle R, understand the law. So the law serves you. One reason many people lose money isn't because they lack opportunity, but because they don't understand the rules of the game. And when you don't understand the rules, you always lose, no matter how hard you try. I once told a group of young entrepreneurs, in the financial world, the law isn't there to punish, it's there to guide. But if you don't know how to read it, it will punish you. Most people ignore the law. They think taxes, interest rates, deductions, investments are all too complicated, too distant. They avoid them, and that avoidance becomes their trap. The poor and middle class often think, I don't need to understand, I just need to work hard. But the rich think differently. They learn to control the law, not be controlled by it. I remember attending a meeting in Texas where a seasoned investor shared his story. He wasn't the smartest person in the room, nor did he start with any advantages. But he said, I studied financial law the way a musician studies notes. Because I understood that only when I knew the structure could I create within it. He said that early in his business, he lost heavily because he didn't understand depreciation rules. He paid more taxes than he should have, simply because he didn't know the government allowed companies to deduct equipment investments over several years. When he started learning, reading, asking experts, talking to accountants and lawyers, everything changed. He realized the law isn't the enemy. The law is the map. If you know how to read the map, you reach your destination faster than those guessing the way. I've also seen many skilled, hardworking people with stable incomes slowly drained by basic laws they didn't understand. They don't know how to protect assets from risk. They don't know that setting up a company properly can separate personal risk from business risk. They don't know that tax laws can ease their burden if they invest in education or create jobs for others. I'm not saying you need to be a lawyer. I'm saying you should understand enough to know how the game works. Because money doesn't just move by effort, it moves by law. Those who don't understand the law work harder. Those who do work smarter. Think about this. The same dollar, one person turns it into an investment tool, another turns it into a burden. The difference isn't in the money, it's in understanding. If you know long-term investments get tax advantages, you'll choose to hold assets instead of short-term trades. If you know that contributing to a retirement or education fund gets tax deductions, you'll prepare early. If you understand that creating value for society is always rewarded, you'll choose a sustainable path. Law may seem dry, but behind it lies a subtle principle. Society rewards those who create value. And governments always have systems to protect and support those helping the economy grow. So when you invest in the right things, education, business, job creation, you're moving with the law, not against it. I once told a young person, don't let fear blind you to the law. Let understanding turn you into someone the law protects. Because in the financial game, ignorance is the most expensive tax. Those who don't learn pay with money. Those who don't understand pay with time. And those who don't correct pay with freedom. Take a moment to ask yourself, am I living within the law's framework or bound by it without knowing? Am I being drained by taxes or learning how to make taxes reward me? You can't change the law, but you can change your position within it, from being controlled to being protected. Keeping what you earn isn't just about saving. It's about understanding the game you're playing. And in this world, those who understand deeply always have the advantage. Principle 3, legal tax optimization. When I talk about taxes, many people sigh. Taxes to them are something complicated, dry, even scary. But I always say, don't fear taxes. Understand taxes. Because understanding is what separates those who work for money from those who make money work for them. I'm not talking about tax evasion. Tax evasion is illegal. I'm talking about optimizing taxes fully legal, transparent, and encouraged. There's a truth many people don't realize. The government doesn't want you to be poor. They want you to help the economy grow, and they reward those who do. If you invest in education, you're elevating human capability. If you start a business, you're creating jobs. If you invest for the long term, you're helping build a stable economy. And tax law, in all its forms, always has rewards for those who create real value. I once met a man in Arizona who owned a small company with only 6 employees. In his first year, he worked day and night and revenue grew sharply. But at year's end, when he got his tax notice, he nearly collapsed more than 40% of his profits due. He came to me puzzled and asked, Jim, I work hard, I create jobs. Why am I still taxed so heavily? I smiled and said, it's not the state punishing you. They just reward people who know the rules. I connected him with a financial professional who helped him understand deduction rules. He set up an employee training fund that qualified for tax relief. He shifted to long-term investing instead of short-term trading lower taxable gains. He contributed to retirement plans for himself and his employees also tax advantaged. A year later, he saved tens of thousands of dollars without breaking a single law. And he told me, Jim, I realized the law wasn't against me. I just didn't understand it before. Taxes in reality are the language of value. If you're creating sustainable value, the law will lighten your load. If you only consume and don't create, the law will take its share. People who understand taxes don't see them as the enemy, but as a strict teacher pointing out what truly benefits society. So when you invest in knowledge, entrepreneurship, product development, job creation, the law stands with you. I know many people complain that the rich don't pay as much tax as they think. But the truth is, the rich don't evade taxes, they play by the rules, and they understand those rules well enough to make them work in their favor. They know tax codes are systems that incentivize good behavior, and they choose to act in ways the law rewards, not punishes. You can do the same. By studying, reading, asking, no one requires you to become an expert, but you can become financially aware. I want you to understand this clearly. Every dollar you keep legally is a dollar of freedom. Every amount saved through tax optimization is a brick in a solid financial foundation. And what's even better, the money you keep today isn't just for keeping. It can become investment capital, helping you create more value, give others jobs, and strengthen the economy. That's how the value flywheel works. You understand the law. The law rewards. You invest. Society develops. The law continues to encourage you. So instead of complaining about taxes, ask, how can I be rewarded more by the law instead of avoiding learn? Instead of fearing, use it as a bridge. When you know how to legally optimize taxes, you don't just keep more. You step up to a new level of thinking, the mindset of a creator, not a sufferer. And if you feel these lessons truly resonate, hit subscribe to continue the journey with me where we not only learn how to make money, but how to protect it and multiply it wisely. Because keeping money is only the first step. The next question is, what will you do with it? Let's move on to the next principle, where every dollar saved today can become a new cash flow tomorrow. Principle 4.1, reinvest the money you saved. One of the most common mistakes people make is when they keep some money, they see it as a reward to spend more. But the financially smart understand money kept isn't for extra spending, it's for extra investing. Every dollar you save today is a seed for the future. But a seed only has real value when it's planted, not stored in a drawer. I once met a woman in Denver. She worked at an accounting firm with a modest salary just over $3,000 a month. But unlike many her age, she didn't shop much or chase trends. She saved $300 a month, and instead of letting it sit idle, she chose to invest in a simple, steady index fund. 20 years later, she no longer had to work for money. Money worked for her. And when I asked why, she simply said, I'm not wealthy because I earn more, Jim. I just used my savings to sow seeds, not let them lie still. That story reminds me of a simple principle. Very few live by when you spend money leaves you. When you invest money, it starts working for you. The difference isn't in the amount, but in the purpose. Many people save out of fear of lack, fear of loss, fear of risk. And that fear makes them put money in places so safe that the money falls asleep. But those with a wealthy mindset understand true safety isn't in holding tight, but in making money grow. A dollar saved, if not reinvested, will gradually lose value over time. Inflation doesn't care how hard you work. It only asks whether you let your money stand still. And if you let it stand still, you're slowing down while the world moves forward. I often use this metaphor, money is like the water in a stream. If you let it run through your hands, it disappears. If you block it completely, it becomes stagnant. But if you direct it into fields, places that can generate new life, you're letting that water create harvests. Reinvestment is the act of a farsighted person. You're not just thinking about today, you're planting for tomorrow. An old tree doesn't grow in one season, but a wise farmer keeps sowing every year because he understands time is the friend of growth. I once asked a successful friend in San Francisco, what keeps your cash flow steady even when the market goes up and down? He answered, I don't wait for big opportunities. I reinvest in small ones. He didn't invest in flashy things. He invested in knowledge, skills, and tools that made his work more effective. He let every bit of savings create value, small but consistent. And that consistency created true freedom. Reinvestment doesn't have to be stocks or real estate. Sometimes the best investment is in yourself, a course, a book, a relationship, a new skill, because those yield long-term returns no one can steal. I once said, if you want to double your income, double your value. And the fastest way to do that is to use the money you kept to expand your own capacity. Keeping money isn't just an action, it's an attitude, a declaration that you respect your effort. And reinvesting the money you saved is proof that you believe in your own future. Remember, every dollar you keep, if placed well, will return to you as a new stream bringing opportunity, freedom, and peace of mind. But there's a kind of leakage more silent than inflation or taxes leakage from ignorance. And if you don't see it, you might be paying the most expensive tax of your life without even knowing it. Let's move on to the next principle. Principle, wu, ignorance, you the most expensive tax. There's a tax most people are paying without knowing it. It doesn't appear on any form, nor is it collected by the government. It's the tax of ignorance. I've seen hundreds of hardworking people grind for a lifetime, yet still feel short on money. They aren't lazy, they aren't foolish, they just lack financial knowledge. And that lack makes them lose more than any other tax. I once said at a seminar, if you think education is expensive, try ignorance. And the room fell silent. Because none of us want to admit we're being penalized not by others, but by our own lack of understanding. I once met a man in Florida. He worked in real estate and he came to me one day looking worried. He said, Jim, I just lost nearly $50,000 on a deal. I don't understand why. I did everything on gut feel, and I guess I chose wrong. I asked him, do you understand the rules around real estate investing? Did you read the contract carefully before signing? He went quiet. I said, then you didn't lose money to risk you lost it to ignorance. Then I told him about my younger days. I had also lost thousands just by trusting without verifying, by assuming everyone knows, by being too lazy to learn. Until I realized ignorance is never free. You either pay to learn or pay the price for not learning. Ignorance isn't limited to finance. It creeps into every part of life. Don't understand health, you pay with illness. Don't understand emotions, you pay with broken relationships. Don't understand time, you pay with a life wasted. And don't understand money, you pay with stolen freedom. Someone once told me, but Jim, I don't have time to learn about finances. I smiled. There will come a time when you have plenty, when your money isn't enough to keep you busy anymore. The world doesn't reward the hardest worker, it rewards the one who understands the game best. Just like you can't win at chess without knowing how the pieces move. Many people work hard like dutiful pawns, inching forward step by step, while those who understand the rules use strategy, making every move purposeful. And the strange thing is just a bit of understanding, and the whole picture changes. When you understand compound interest, you start respecting time. When you understand cash flow, you don't spend what you haven't earned. When you understand risk, you protect instead of panic. Knowledge unlocks freedom while ignorance locks you in fear. I want you to pause and ask yourself, how much am I paying for my ignorance each month? Not in bills, but in missed opportunities. Opportunities to invest, to learn, to expand. Opportunities to live proactively instead of reactively. Every time you say, I don't know, and don't try to find out, you levy another tax on yourself. And the sad part is this, tax has no cap, it grows with every year you delay. If you want to keep what you earn, you must start keeping knowledge. Don't let the world take your money simply because you don't understand how it works. Read one more book. Listen to one more lecture. Ask one more question. Because every bit of knowledge you gain today will save you thousands in the future. Ignorance is darkness. Learning is the lamp. And with just a little light, you'll see the road more clearly, the road to true freedom, not by luck, but by awakening. And once you understand that knowledge is the shield of your finances, the next question is, what will you use it for? The wise don't chase expansion before they master preservation. Let's move on to the next principle. Principle Liu, DAC preserve before expanding. I once said in a talk in Chicago Smart, people don't ask, how do I scale faster? They ask, how do I protect what I've built? The modern world teaches us to be bigger, faster, to double everything. But sometimes growing too fast is what makes us collapse. Because not every tree needs to grow taller, some just need to grow stronger. I once met a young man in Dallas full of ambition to get rich. He worked non-stop investing in every new opportunity he saw online. Money came in, then vanished. He came to me and said, Jim, I tried to scale too fast. I wanted more, but ended up with nothing. I looked at him and replied, because you forgot the most important thing. Preservation is the foundation of expansion. Like a builder, before you think about the second floor, make sure the foundation is strong enough to bear it. If not, the higher you go, the more dangerous it gets. The wise don't let financial excitement blind them. They know wealth isn't a speed game. It's a durability game. An entrepreneur once told me, Jim, success tricks us into thinking we're invincible. But that's when we're most vulnerable. I call that the scalability trap. When money comes fast, we think we're smart. When profits rise, we believe risk has disappeared. But risk never disappears, it just stays quiet waiting for you to forget caution. Look at truly wealthy people. They don't invest just to double assets, they invest to protect their system. When they earn 100, they don't think, how do I make it 200? They think, how do I not lose this 100 when the market turns? That isn't fear, it's awareness. A friend of mine in Phoenix once said, Jim, I don't invest to show I'm smarter than others. I invest to make sure if I stop working today, my family is still fine tomorrow. That's a preservation mindset. It isn't flashy, it doesn't impress on social media, but it's what separates the sustainably wealthy from those who only look rich. I often use the image of a gardener. Beginners only care about planting more trees. The wise spend most of their time protecting the garden from pests and storms, because they know if the roots die, every blossom is just an illusion. Your assets are the same. It doesn't matter how many income streams you have. If a small event can wipe everything out, you haven't truly preserved anything. A preservation mindset isn't just about keeping money, it's how you make decisions. Before spending, you ask, will this make me more resilient? Before investing, you ask, if things go bad, will I still be okay? That's how long-term thinkers operate. The inexperienced see returns. The visionary sees risk and survivability, and that's what helps them go far. There's a paradox few notice. Those who prioritize preservation actually expand the fastest, because they don't have to go back and fix mistakes. They don't waste time rebuilding foundations. They move step by step, and each step is sturdier than others. I once said discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. A preservation mindset is a form of discipline. It forces you to slow down so you can go farther. I want you to remember this. Before dreaming of financial freedom, make sure you're financially safe. Before dreaming of returns, make sure you're not losing principal. Because only when you know how to protect the roots can every seed you plant sprout and grow in peace. And when you've learned preservation, the last thing you need is to turn every principle into an automatic system. Because discipline gets tired, but systems never do. Let's step into the final principle, where you learn to have money kept multiplied and managed even when you're not paying attention. Principle 7.1, automate keeping money. One of the biggest enemies of financial success isn't poverty, isn't risk, it's the fatigue of discipline. You can be disciplined today, disciplined tomorrow. But there will be a morning when you wake up and think, maybe I don't need to save this month. And with just one time like that, the first crack appears in your financial fortress. So smart people don't rely on willpower, they rely on systems. I once said, if you have to use willpower for everything you'll lose to habit, discipline is necessary. But human discipline has limits. Systems, if set up right, work for you even when you forget, when you're tired, or when you lose motivation. A friend of mine in Seattle once told me that every time he got paid, he didn't trust himself to remember to set aside savings. Instead, he set up automatic transfers, 10% to a long-term investment fund, 5% to an emergency fund, 5% to a learning and self-development account. He laughed and said, I never feel bad when money leaves my account because I know it's leaving to come back. That's the power of automation. It removes emotion from finance. You no longer argue with yourself each month about whether to save because that decision was made once for life. When you set up systems, you're telling money, this is where you go. And I'm in control, not my feelings. I remember speaking with a group of college students. I asked them, how many of you have tried saving but couldn't keep it up for more than 3 months? Almost all raised their hands. I said, the problem isn't the money. The problem is you haven't created an environment where discipline can survive. You can't expect to beat temptation every day, but you can remove temptation from the board. A person with systems doesn't have to fight themselves so much. Their money moves in the right direction steadily, quietly, and one day they look back and see they've gone farther than those who once seemed more determined. Systematizing the keeping of money isn't just setting up a few transfers. It's how you design your life. You automate learning daily by spending 30 minutes reading. You automate investing by allocating funds monthly. You automate saving by living below your means. When those become defaults, your finances become like a river flowing steadily without a helmsman, yet always going the right way. I once met a woman in Portland who used to say she could never save. But after hearing me talk about the law of automation, she decided to try. Each month, she had the bank automatically move $100 to a separate, untouchable account. A year later, she'd saved over $1.200 without noticing. She wrote to thank me, and there was a line I'll never forget, Jim. It turns out freedom doesn't start with making more, it starts with not having to decide so much. When you automate keeping money, you're doing something wonderful for yourself, freeing your mind from financial worry. You no longer have to remember, count, or control every transaction. You let the system work so you can live. That's the highest art of money management. Not tighter control, but smarter design. Not chasing, but setting rules and letting everything run in order. So if you truly want financial freedom, start here. Let money work for you even while you sleep. Turn discipline into systems and let those systems become the gatekeepers of your prosperity. Do you know systems turn ordinary people into extraordinary ones? And that's the truth. You don't need to be better than others. You just need to be better organized than they are. And now when you've learned 7 principles to keep what you earn, let's close this journey to revisit the core wealth. Doesn't start with money. It starts with honoring your own value. We've gone through 7 principles, 7 steps to keep what you deserve. So every drop of sweat you shed today doesn't go to waste. You've learned that reducing leakage is the fastest way to build wealth. Understanding the law keeps you from being bound by the system itself. Legal tax optimization is a reward for those who create real value. Reinvesting savings is sowing seeds for tomorrow's freedom. Ignorance is the most expensive tax you might pay. Preservation before expansion is the foundation of sustainability, and automation is how discipline lives on even when you're tired. Those 7 principles aren't just a financial formula. They're a life philosophy. Protect your effort, honor your value, and sow renewed faith in the future. I want you to remember one thing. Freedom doesn't begin when you have a lot of money. It begins when you know how to keep what you have. Because freedom isn't a result. It's a habit, the habit of management, the habit of learning, the habit of staying true to principles. If these lessons have resonated with you, like this video, leave a comment with your thoughts, and hit subscribe to continue the journey with me, where we don't just talk about money, we talk about the philosophy of mastering life. Remember, don't wish life were easier. Wish you were stronger, because when you're strong enough, you don't just make money, you keep it, and you live worthy of every dollar you create. Protect your seeds. From them, the harvest of freedom will come. See you in the next video, where we continue sowing the seeds of wisdom and discipline.